Can it be small and perform? Camera, that is. Can a camera small like the Olympus XA perform and produce professional looking images? That's what I came out here to find out. There's been some hype recently in the analog photography community about this particular model, so I decided to pick one up and to test it out. And while we're at it, where is this here exactly? Well, I'm at one of Europe's amazing locations, the delta of River Neretva, where we just so happened to be visiting some relatives for the Easter holidays. So naturally I figured this would be a great opportunity for a new YouTube video and my new toy review. I first learned about this model from a video by Kyle McDougall, who reviewed it a while ago and seemed really enthusiastic about it. I mean, small compact camera such as this one with professional controls like rangefinder focusing and full manual aperture control. I mean, where do I sign up for that? So during the following weeks after watching that video, I got into a bit of a search frenzy, as I usually do when I'm into something. I scouted the internet shops, the Instagram stores, I even emailed a couple of buddies of mine. Finally, eBay was the one who delivered, and I was able to secure a mint copy from a Japanese seller for a price nowhere near as good as Kyle's. But I figured with the rising prices of analog cameras, this might even turn out to be a good investment. Who knows? If you decide that you want to get an XA, make sure you get the proper version, because over time there were 4 versions of this camera released. There was the original, which is this one, and that's the one you probably want, with most of the professional features like the f2.8 lens, the rangefinder focusing, and the manual aperture control. Then there was the XA1, XA2, and XA3. So make sure you get the proper version. Some of the things to look out for when purchasing this camera used are the brightness of the rangefinder focusing patch, which does tend to fade away over time. The light seals at the back of the camera will most probably need replacing, and I can't stress this enough. Light meter needs to work. The internal light meter needs to be functioning properly. This is an aperture priority camera, so you set the aperture, the camera sets the shutter speed. If the internal light meter doesn't work, the camera cannot set the shutter speed, therefore the camera doesn't work. So make sure the internal light meter works. A couple of negatives which people talk about when reviewing this camera online are its small size. I mean, it's this big, like a couple of iPhones stacked on top of each other, especially without the flash unit, which kind of makes it a bit difficult to securely grasp when you're taking pictures. Then the shutter release button is not really tactile and it's very easily triggered. And the focusing lever is kind of fiddly to find when you're focusing. But as most things in life, you really get used to this. I mean, it took me a couple of rolls to really get familiar with this camera, and now I feel pretty confident using it. So what was my experience with the Olympus XA? I have to say I was pretty disappointed in the beginning. After the first couple of rolls, I thought most of the images were kind of soft. Some of them were even downright blurry. But the more I shot with it, the more I realized what was really going on here. So 20 years ago, when I started photography, I shot exclusively on film. And sometimes during the next couple of years, I switched over to digital, like most of us. And without even realizing it, I've gotten so used to these clear, sharp images, full of resolution and details, especially in the shadows, which film really doesn't have. So it took a while for me to get accustomed to the aesthetic of film again. And the second thing which is really important to mention here is, actually I should be showing two fingers instead of one. The second thing really important here is the scanning technique, because most of us these days, we're scanning our negatives. So your scanning technique and your conversion and what you do to those scans is really going to make a difference in the way your scanned negatives look like. People who have been through some sort of disaster oftentimes say that the things that they want back most are their photographs. Photography creates memories for moments both grand and small, moments which might have gone by unnoticed and forgotten. But if you have a small camera on yourself like the Olympus, you're likely to fire off at least a couple of frames. Its small size makes it so unobtrusive and even comical at times that people will let their guards down and let you photograph their true self. The Olympus XA is a great street and travel camera, and it's a great tool to document your everyday life.